Hello, everyone. So, welcome back to the Expand Love Show. Today, we have Jerome, the amazing Jerome that I've been waiting to talk to and interview so that he can share his journey, experience, light, and knowledge with all of us on how we can nourish ourselves more with more and more love, another sources of nourishment like prana, life force. Yeah, and he has had a very beautiful journey of transitioning from eating different kinds of food to living on prana. And yeah, I would invite you, Jerome, to introduce yourself. We have also Eustace with us, who's been on the journey of Breatharianism as well. Uh, yeah, and he's been juice fasting for now 65 days.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
it's his birthday as well today. So,
Hey, happy birthday, Eustace. Happy
Oh,
birthday.
thank you.
yeah, yes. So, yes, Jerome, I welcome you to introduce yourself and share your light with us on the show.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. First off, thank you for that warm welcome. Thank you, Kartika. Thank you, Eustace. Thank you both. And for everyone watching, just really receiving the love here. And I enjoy all just the many things that you project online, the positive messages that you put out for the people to consume, to digest, and process. Because as we progress through our own journeys, our own path, we have so many lessons and blessings that we come across. And I love the way that you're utilizing your platform for a good purpose, to bring people together instead of, separation. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be on here with you on your show. Wonderful
Thank
opportunity.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we were just going through your, life, whatever is available online, and we were looking at how you have, till the age of 28, you were not even aware of Breatharianism and
Mhm.
like any other source of nourishment. So we would love to know how is it that it came to you, and if in it's, I'm sure it's like such a deep journey, but in brief, if you could express how it transitioned and what was the inspiration, that would be
Mhm.
really amazing.
Right. And Kartika, I love how you talked about just now, what was the inspiration? That's always the question for anybody who is on their own journey. Like, what is the inspiration? What is that sensation that gets you to do something totally drastic or totally different or beside the norm or the average person who's, moving and grooving throughout life? And one person told me, they put it this way: we usually only make profound changes due to inspiration or desperation. And luckily, we had a mixture of both. It reminds me of when I saw that you were in Vietnam and there was a time, maybe 4 years back or several years back, where you had anxiety, you had depression, you were very low, and you also had skin conditions, and there were different things that you were going through and growing through. And then also you got hit with this infection that was life-threatening. So
Yeah.
that was desperation. But then you also had a mixture of inspiration. You got inspired to do something you had never done before to achieve a result you had never had. And it turned out that it worked in your favor. So we're blessed to be among you today. I mean, you're blessed to be here, right? I mean, life is a gift.
Definitely. Yeah.
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 So I would
Life.
say,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go. No, you go ahead. You were finishing.
No, I mean, I would say for me, I definitely resonate when it came to the depression, the less satisfactory life, things that weren't fulfilling me. I didn't feel purposeful. I didn't feel purpose driven. I felt purposeless. I felt like I was just kind of aimlessly walking throughout life, not knowing where I was supposed to be going and not knowing how to, just how to find whatever it is that people design for themselves as this is my purpose in life. I didn't feel like I had one of those. And at the time, I was in a relationship that lasted for around a decade. And we were high school sweethearts, and we came together, and we didn't really know what life or love was. We kind of didn't even know ourselves yet. But when we separated, it was as if a piece of myself had left. When you're with someone for so long, you can kind of identify with being with that person. Like your identity becomes kind of molded with with them, and that becomes the story of you. And so that was my running narrative. Like, we're just together. We didn't know that we'd ever separate, but when we did, it was like something had left me. And so that void, to fill that void, I went to so many different distractions. And as we say, distraction is the opposite of traction. I felt like I was taking 3 steps back, trying to take 1 step forward. And I ended up in California from Texas. So I drove my car all the way from Texas on a road trip, kind of like a soul searching discovery path of self-realization. And I ended up in a meditation center with Burmese monks and nuns who took me in free of charge. They were complete strangers to me. I was a stranger to them, but they treated me like I was family. They taught me about meditation, the reasons why we suffer. They taught me about mindfulness and detachment. And then one of the chief monks, the head monk there, Sayadaw, he's still alive today, and he travels around the globe, making different meditation centers for Tabawa. He had been living a liquid lifestyle for the past 2 years. And I said, what do you mean a liquid lifestyle? They told me, yeah, he doesn't eat. They're like, what are you talking about? Wait a minute, like, hold up, like, what? Rewind. Doesn't eat. What do you mean he doesn't eat? Because my mind, the government, the mind control, the government that we're under can often be very pliable. It's like Play-Doh, and it's made throughout life. Everything that we come under the government of our subconscious programming, it's all installed. And I had several programs that I needed to put in the recycle bin, that I needed to uninstall, that I needed to deprogram to reprogram. And so one of the programs that I had that most people have is that if you go without food for 5 days, you die. If you go without water for 3 days, you die, things like that. And so I thought that this was, common knowledge, you perish, there is no other way. And so when I heard that this person was living without solid food, something within me, going through that painful situation, being in that own desperation, I was ready for this knowledge. Something within me was like, this is true. I don't know how this is true. I don't know why this is true, but I feel it in my bones. This is real. And so I decided to figure it out on my own. I like doing research as well as experimentation. So that began my journey. And here I am today. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Love the way you laugh, I can feel it like light. Amazing. So this is how you came into this. But would you also say that you were meant to do it in a lot of ways?
Wow, Kartika, no one's ever asked me that. What question? Was I meant to do it? Was I meant to do it? That's very interesting, because, I don't know exactly if I was meant to, or if I made the conscious decision. Sometimes we like to feel like, on the one hand, we have free will. We make choices. We all make choices, and in the end, our choices make us. And then on the other hand, there's something called predestination. Is there things that we are meant to do? Is there a writing on the wall somewhere? So I don't know, maybe perhaps it was written, who knows, but we're finding it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer. We're also finding out. But it's just curiosity is there, because I would say that at least for myself, I wouldn't want to say for him, but I see that you were ahead, in a lot of things, and I would just like to see what is going on, just to like see if how's it that I can also I think at some level what we're doing is nourishing, so how can I nourish myself and others more and more?
Right.
So yeah, just like it's nice to know like the whole process and like what happened in your consciousness to basically just that. Yeah, okay. You know, amazing. You want to go ahead?
Yes.
We decided we'll do two questions so that it's like harmonious.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So first of all, like, I'm really amazing to meet you, and I saw your interview on or your talk on Breatharian World in back in like not this year but last year. It was really amazing. I really loved your story because you went. It seems that your transition was very very quick, right? Like, because I see that sometimes for some other people, like, the transition can be very long. I mean, for me also, I became vegetarian more than 10 years back as well. And then I became vegan 5 years back. And then I
Right.
found about raw foods, and then I was doing lots of juice cleansing and lots of different fasting as well. So I'm still also in my transition, but the transition was quite long. What about your transition? I would like to know all as well. How did your transition go? And because when you found out about like, that you could live without food, at which state were you were with your food? Like, were you vegetarian? Were you eating everything? Could you tell more about it?
Yeah, thank you, Eustace. Thank you for that question. It's a really good question to have because it's like for some people it is small steps, and I would actually argue that that's the best way. I would say don't nature jump, and if we're a part of nature, it sometimes it's not wise to take that leap before you're ready, because the body just needs time. The mind is always it's either in the past or it's in the future, and the body just needs a little time to catch up. So I actually exploded into that evolution. I actually kind of skyrocketed myself into a new field per se, and my body was just like, wait, we need to catch up. It took a little time, and there were times where it felt stabilized, it felt equalized, but in that state there was something that was left wanting, because I had gone so fast that I almost underestimated what had happened. Let me see, how can I describe this? So years ago, not that many years ago, when I was 28, like you said, Kartika, like just finding out about this, I wasn't eating anything and everything, but I was raised primarily carnivorous. I was eating animal products, animal flesh, everything, everything you can imagine. The only things that I wasn't really consuming were, maybe pork or scavenger fish, due to the religion that I was in at the time. My mom is Seventh-day Adventist. So we just didn't consume those things, but everything else was free game. And so I started to make conscious shifts running into different people. So it's almost like these realities, one of my mentors says, Elitam Elamin, he talks about how they're just on top of each other. You don't know what you don't know. And once your perception changes, once the way that you see things changes, then it's like you're living in a new reality, and you're living in a new place that other people seem to not be living in. So before, I didn't know any vegetarians, I didn't know any vegans. Then when I started lightening up my diet, all of a sudden I'm running into them. They're running into me. We're having conversations. I'm seeing different restaurants. I'm seeing different locations. And now that I'm on this path, we're running into each other here. Now I'm having these conversations. So everything starts to elevate. So the only thing that started to transition my mind was when I ran into other people, and then I saw a documentary called Earthlings. Have you ever seen this one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I became vegetarian, actually.
Yeah. So that's what allowed me to say, oh my goodness, I don't ever want to go back there, because I thought when I watched that documentary, and for anyone who has never seen this, Earthlings, it's narrated by Joaquin Phoenix. It talks about the 5 things that we use animals for, for food, for clothing, for entertainment, for pets, also for scientific advancement, for scientific experimentation. So when it talked about all those 5 things, and it showed me the hidden cameras, it showed me the things behind the scenes, the slaughterhouses, the things that I had never seen before. These things are not publicized. They're not brought to the light of day. My heart You know, it was like I started crying, I got emotional, and I was like, I never want to go back. So for some people, it's health reasons. For some people, it's, you know, body reasons. For others, it's the animals. For me, it was the animals, you know? So that kind of led me down the path where I said, okay, I'm just removing this, removing this. Then I started to see the aisles I was walking down in the grocery store differently. Before I was looking at this, okay, what do I want to have tonight here? Now I was looking at them like body parts. I was looking at like, am I like a scavenger, like a vulture out here? These are dead bodies, you know? So it really restructured everything up here to make me say, what have I been doing all my life? You know, how have I been living all my life? And why wasn't I taught this? Why don't my parents know this? Why doesn't anybody in my family? Because I feel like I'm like the only one in my family that is living this way. And then slowly but surely, once I ran into breatharianism, I just jumped. I jumped straight from, you know, from, I guess you can say like a light vegetarian all the way into liquid. You know, I passed fruitarian, you know, everything in between, and just jumped straight into liquid and said, let's do it, because I'm a gamer and I love a challenge. And when somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm like, game on, you know? Like, so that's what did it for me. So my transition was a quick one, and it was like my mind went there and my body was just kind of running to catch up. But once it did, the experience was transformational. So thank you for that question, Eustace. I know I kind of went around to get to it. Thank you.
No, it's
Yeah.
awesome. The
Yeah. It's amazing to
beautiful.
know.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much. Yes. So, so when you went on liquids, what do you mean by liquids? Because sometimes, like, you know, for me, for example, I drink only juices and I drink only fruit juices also. So, like, you know, last more than 1 year, I've been, like, you know, fruitarian as well.
Yeah.
And for me, like, you know, I'm still on the journey of, like, you know, basically, like, you know, juicing and lightening up my diet even more and more. And at the moment, also, like, I'm also making it more simple, so to speak. Like, I'm having only like watermelon juice. What do you mean by juices for you? Like, what was it? What kind of juices were you having, or the juices? What kind of liquids were you having? And for how long? And, like, you know, how was the transition? How were you feeling? Also, I'm also interested in that.
Right. Yeah. For me, you know, I don't discriminate usually when it comes to juices. I mean, I just kind of go with what I like. Out here, I've been addicted to this pineapple juice, you know, just, you know, regular pineapple juice at the store. Like, I don't discriminate when it comes to the juices. I just kind of go with what I enjoy, you know, what my mouth enjoys, and that's the funny thing about taste, because even though there's lots of, I mean, I love food. I'll be the last person to say, like, food is so ingrained within me, because for so many years I was consuming at, like, you know, food that would feed families. But then I got to this point when I got on this juice journey that it was like, okay, this wants it, but this doesn't want it, you know? So for my digestive system, it became less conducive for the level of conductivity, for the level of electricity, for the level of energy that I wanted. And then also I was less drowsy. I had less brain fog. So with juices, I love coconut water. I love pineapple juice. I love blueberry juice. I love anything with ginger. During the Pranic World Festival this year, I was having everything with ginger, like the carrot with ginger, the pineapple ginger. Like, I love juices that have that kick, because I think in a way it kind of compensates for the spiciness that I used to be craving back in the day when I had everything spicy. You know, the tom kahs, the tom yums, the, you know, the everything that was with, you know, the habaneros, the jalapenos, all of that stuff. So ginger kind of gives me that satisfactory kick that I look for. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. So if you had to define, like, how is it that you're spending your day? And would you, I'm sure, because how are you getting that nourishment? You know, what are the things that you do in your one day? We would love to know.
Yeah. So, you know, I kind of take it breath by breath. I go where the breath leads me. Earlier, just preparing for this, I did the short meditation with my flute here. So I carry this wherever I go. So I'm constantly doing like some form of meditation or some form of relaxation with this. That's also a mode of service. So I feel like service is something important for me. Giving the gift that we've been given, you give it back, and you also receive. It's reciprocal. So you know about that cycle of energy and that flow of abundance, because you do these abundance meditations and you have these wonderful abundance affirmations that I love, Kartika. It's so nourishing. And yeah, so I will actually say affirmations. I'll take off these Rudraksha, these mala beads here, and I'll count them as I walk. And so I count affirmations, I recite affirmations in my mind as I walk, counting each bead, the 108. Then I'll just turn around and go down another 108 for different pranic affirmations that I have that I recite every day. Then I went to the train station to see where my next adventure is going to lead. Found that out. That was about a 45 to 50-minute walk. So as I was doing that, I'm doing those affirmations. Then I'm listening maybe to a pranic talk. I'm maybe listening to your talk that you had with Fabi and Guruv. Then I come back. I have a book with me, so I'm reading. I read while walking. I learned how to do that when I was young. So I'm reading, consuming it while I'm walking. So I'm getting the exercise. And I walk pretty often. I mean, I have a step meter. I'm at like 11,000 steps today. So by the end of the day, this will be around 20,000. So I like to do, around 10 miles or so if I can. And other than that, it's meditating. I like the Shambhavi mudra, looking up. And then Shivambu, which is consuming your own waters. Yeah. So Shambhavi, Shivambu, what's another one? Shiatsu massage. I do massage.
Wow.
So yeah, and then shakuhachi. Yeah. So there's a lot of shas, in my life.
Shows, Jerome show, huh? And it's a great show. Yeah. Amazing. So, all right. So you're like walking and getting energy from your like flute, you're getting energy. Okay. So
yeah, movement. So being in the sunlight, being in nature is important for me. I love being outside if I can, as often as I can. And then also I know with your ecstatic dance, my style of movement would be more like Tai Chi, more flowing, but also I love dancing. I love roller skating. But if I can't do that, before this, I was also shadow boxing. I used to box in the gym. So that's an activity as well. Jump roping. I can just do things, they're practical. And Qigong is something that I do as well. If I'm standing in line, say I was in line at the train station, people don't really notice what you're doing with your hands. So I can just kind of have my hands like this or open my body, just connect to the energy. So those having energy practices that are practical, they really help on a pranic lifestyle. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, I get it. And what about like consuming liquids? How much do you consume? Do you consume every day? How does it go?
Yeah. So normally I do consume every day. Oh, were you saying something else?
Yes, I thought I would also ask you, are you eating as well, or are you just on liquids?
Just on liquids at the moment. Yeah. So it's been just on liquids. And when it comes to the rate of consumption or the window of consumption, I don't really calculate it. It's not anything that I really track. I just kind of flow with my body. I listen to my body. And if I feel like, I don't need anything, or I feel content, I feel satisfied, then I'll just kind of reside in that energy. Just kind of allow that to be what it is. Because there was so long, Kartika, like when you're just restless and you don't know what to do with all that energy. That was actually one of my questions for you, Guruv, the other day, was like, what do you do with it all? Because that's one thing, Eustace, I started to see was when all this energy, you could view it as the energy was coming to you, or you could view it as you weren't disrupting that energy. You weren't blocking the energy that was already there. So you had an abundance of energy because there was no inhibitor chip, you know? So with all this flow, I was like, where does it go with all of this flow, you know? So I had to get creative pretty fast. Otherwise, I think I would have really gone back to eating, and several times I did throughout the journey. It wasn't a straight, it wasn't a straight line up. It was like a little bit up, down, little bit up, down, little bit up, down. And it kept kind of going in this trajectory, but it was back and forth, in and out, up and down, And there were times where I was faced with all this time on my hands because I had all this energy. I mean, can you imagine having an extra 5 hours every day? What do you do? You're used to like, I should be asleep right now. What do I do with this? So it becomes a challenge, but it's a worthy challenge, and you're up to the challenge.
Yeah. I know this feeling when like you kind of getting energy like constantly with this pranic flow. But even when we do dry fasting, because we're eating, there is so much time. And I'm sure for you, you're sleeping less as well, right?
Yeah, with the sleep quotient, I think I heard Sadhguru talk about this as well, because I was fascinated with this thing about sleep. One of the Burmese monks, or the nuns rather, one of the nuns, she was talking to me about how, where did we get this idea that we have to go to sleep? Of course the body needs rest, but do we need sleep like the way that we think we need it? And so I started challenging that as well, and started just staying awake. And I said, okay, I'm just going to stay awake. And instead of going to sleep when I think I'm supposed to go to sleep, I'll go to sleep when my body wants to sleep, and just allow my body to tell me when it wants to go to sleep. And it became very eye-opening, very eye-opening to stay in that state of being awake, even when it was extremely late. When other people are snoring and other people are, in the astral realm, and you're awake, for some people, it can be very alone. You can feel lonely because you're like, why am I not, is something wrong with me? Do I have insomnia? We use words, don't we use words to describe this? I must have insomnia. I can't go to sleep. I have to, but we don't flip it for the positive to say, oh, but maybe I just have more energy, Maybe it's a good thing, Yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting thought. Because it's like I have this idea. I know that it's possible when I have more energy that I sleep less. For sure that happens. But also, like, I think lack of sleep can also come from too many thoughts. And it's a difficult, something that you need to like be more aware of in yourself, that what is it that's causing it.
And too many thoughts can also drain your energy as well. So I believe that, like, if our mind is always running, also we need more sleep as well, right? If we are more at peace, we can, because like I've been also following Elutom for quite a while as well. And he's doing amazing things, like, he's sleeping few hours, and he's not even sleeping like laying down. He's sleeping like in like sitting up, right? Have you had this experience of sleeping while sitting up?
Yes. Yeah, oh man, that's one of the experiences that I was really enjoying when I separated with my partner, and I went into that retreat with Elitam. That was my first retreat, the first pranic retreat back in 2020, January. He did this seminar, or this kind of, what was it called? It was like sleeping, sitting up, but it was a course. It was an online course. And I took his sleeping, sitting up course, and it was just like a few videos, but it gave me the confidence to start to try it. And at first it was a little uncomfortable. My body was kind of cramped, and I kind of felt it in the rising, But then after a few days, then after a week, then after a few weeks, then after a few months, it was just like I didn't want to lay down anymore. I was like, that was the mode that I wanted to be in. And it was something about having the spine aligned or having the spine erect at night that even fed more into the receptivity of that energy. For whatever reason, my eyes would just open and I would just be refreshed. And it would be like, okay, I'm ready for the day. And if I look at the clock, and the clock would say 3:30, and I'm like, no, the clock is wrong. Like, there's no way. There's no way it could be 3:30 right now. I'm like, I'm ready. You know, my body is ready. Everything, you know, all engines are go. So that was a really expansive practice of sleeping sitting up. And at the moment, I'm not in the practice, but I might get back to it. You just inspired me again, Eustace. Thank you.
I'm curious about it because yeah, I'm wondering like, you know, if we can get more energy in this way, or just like, you know, have a better quality of sleep. It's like very interesting because yeah, I mean, you see, even our necks can like get tired, like, you know, if we don't have pillow, right? Like, you know, it's like our body seems, I mean, everything else fits perfectly, but when we go to sleep, it seems we need this pillow kind of thing, right? Like, you know, to keep our neck a bit higher, our head a bit higher, because otherwise, like sleeping like this now, it creates a strain. So, like, you know, when we sleep, I believe, like, also if you try to sleep up, it can be a bit better. But of course, like, you know, I haven't had much experience with that myself.
Now I'm thinking about the neck.
Yeah, I
What
use
could
the neck.
happen?
Yeah, when I started, I used one of those neck pillows for that purpose, you know, to kind of support myself. I had one of those
Yes, yes.
things to do that, but it's an interesting question to have. You know, does the human being have to be horizontal, you know, to get the rest that we need?
Yeah,
It's
like cows and the horses, they can actually like sleep standing up,
right.
and elephants as well, right? So
Right.
you don't need to like lay down, so to speak. And I think we can also probably do that. Probably we could even sleep standing. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. So you met Elitom, right? So you went on like this, the first time you did it like in this 9-day dry fast with him. Am I correct?
So meeting Elitam, so going into that retreat, I had already been about 5 days dry. In the retreat, it was like 8 or 9 days. And then coming out of the retreat, I was still dry. So that was what kind of shot me into a new realm, you know, another realm of existence. So that was the longest time I've ever dry fasted. It was around, yeah, like two weeks. Yeah. And that was the longest time.
Wow.
And I attribute it to not only the synergy of being in that collective group, being with everyone else who had a common goal, who had a common purpose, everyone fasting together, everyone, you know, doing meditation together, doing Qigong together, having Breatharian talks, Breatharian meetings, and just really saturating and infusing our mind with the possibility of this is possible, you know? Just every day, this is possible. That's all we heard. And after a while, the body just gets the memo and something happens and it switches. So I guess we can call that like the pranic engine or whatever you want to call that mechanism that allows your stomach or your primary digestive system to become the secondary, and then your lungs, the respiratory, becomes the primary. And it's something switches and you start really being nourished fully by other forms, you know, you see it for yourself. So yeah, that was a realization for sure.
Amazing, amazing. And when you started again with food, you probably went into liquids from that time, right?
Say it again.
When you started eating after this 14, 2 weeks of dry fasting, you went into liquids that time.
Yeah, so when I went back into liquids and then eventually when I went back into solids, that was a whole nother deal. So is that what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly. Like, because like it's very important to break your fasting properly, right? Like, this is what is like, anyone who was fasting would tell you that, right? So I'm wondering, like, how did you break it, and like, how long it took you to like, to go towards like solid foods, and how did it make you feel as well?
I would agree. Thank you, Eustace, for pointing that out. That's very important. I would definitely agree that I did it the wrong way. Did it the wrong way, you know. We don't have like an instruction manual for this, you know. I was really in uncharted territory when it comes to my body, when it comes to my being, and when it comes to the relationships that I started to develop with myself, understanding that my body is conscious, that it has its own intelligence, that it knows what to do, that I can trust it, you know, that I can let go and not always think that I know everything, that I know what it needs, I know what my body needs. No, I think my body is much more intelligent than I am most days. So when I broke it eventually, I think it was the kettle corn. I was staying at an apartment. It was a studio apartment in California, downtown Los Angeles. And there was a girl, she was cooking this big old thing of like popcorn. And she took a cup and she was like, "Here, you can have it." And I was like, "No, it's okay." She was like, "No, take it. And I was like, "No, really, I'm all right." You know, she was like, "No, please." She was like, "Well, I'm just gonna set it here. And if you want to enjoy it, then you can have it. It's just gonna be right here for you, you know." And so all night long, I'm like looking at this.
Oh my God.
Because it's been so long since I had chewed something, you know? And I went through that before even. It was like after 3 months of no solid food, there was a moment where I was in a Starbucks and I was just sitting down reading a book. And somebody came around handing out free pastries or free like these little things. And something in my mind was asking myself, you know, am I refusing this for me, or am I refusing this for my spiritual ego? Like, what is this that I'm really refusing this for? Because I got to the point, Eustace, that I was afraid to go back to eating because I felt so good in this new reality. You know, I had opened myself up to something that I never felt before. More focus, more energy, more clarity, more everything, that I was like, I don't want to feel like that again. And I developed a fear surrounding food. But now I feel like food is not the enemy. You know, I'm not demonizing food in any, capacity, but it's to say that everything is an experience, and when we make a choice, we choosing to have that experience. So when I chose to have that experience again, and I tasted again, and I felt the texture again, and I felt the chewiness again, and then it felt like nothing. It was like, what? There was no pleasure. It was not like say again.
I said pleasure.
Yeah, some things, like when you go through like a 3-day dry fast and you have some coconut water, you're like, oh my goodness, like you feel the gratitude, you feel like so much love. You're like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. You're just blessing everything. This didn't have that payoff. It was kind of like it just went in my body and then it felt like it evaporated. So then I was caught between a rock and a hard place, because on the one end, I wasn't hungry. I wasn't craving this thing. It was just my mind. It was just, wanting taste. But then on the other side, nothing was happening. I wasn't feeling that full feeling that you usually feel when you eat something. So I was kind of in the middle, this gray area where I was like, I don't feel full. I don't feel like I had anything, but then I don't want anything. It's like, what do I do? So I started going crazy. I was like, and then that's when I went into the downward spiral, which I let people know, if you don't have the guilt and the shame and the blame game, you can rise from that. You can escape that spiral. But when I added guilt, which says, oh, I did a bad thing, when I added shame, which said I am a bad person, that kept me going in the binging, the vomiting, the inducing myself to just, and all of that over and over. That cycle kept me down for a while. I think a good few months I was in that cycle. So, and then that also came with the judgment of others, that we don't realize when we change, it doesn't mean that everybody else changes around us. They might still be doing the same things, consuming the same things, and looking at you like, there's something wrong with you. So when that energy of my family came towards me, that was tough too. You know, that was tough energy to break through, to say I could have the level of acceptance for myself and at the same time compassion and empathy for others who don't have the same understanding. I can still allow them to be where they are without judging them, even if they're judging me. You know, I wasn't ready for that energy at the time. So thank you for that question.
Yeah.
So it's a, go ahead.
One wonderful answer, Jerome. And yes,
Yeah.
just to add on top of that, I guess that's why so many times like people like believe that, oh, vegans or vegetarians are how to say judgmental and everything. But for the most part, it is just the beginning of the journey when you're kind of like being part of the big group, and then you kind of like go out of it, like, you know, let's say becoming vegetarian, and you're kind of seeing things, and you're like, oh, guys, how can you cannot see it? And you forget for a moment that, like, you know, that you didn't see this just like a moment ago. So it's very important to remember where you came from yourself, because we all went, like, not all of us, like Artika was a vegetarian her entire life, but let's say I was also meat eater like you, and when I was growing up, I didn't know about these things. I didn't know that, like, you know, I knew about vegetarian. There is something called vegetarian, but I never had, like, you know, really like, you know, looked into it until I, like, you know, saw a documentary like Earthlings, for example, as well. So until that point, like, you know, you didn't, the awareness was not there. And then, like, you know, after that, like, you know, when you become vegetarian, be like, you know, oh, it makes a lot of sense. Like, no, how come no one can see it? It's just because, like, you know, until it goes into our awareness, like, you know, we cannot see it. And sometimes we forget about these things, and we can be a bit judgmental towards others as well. So it's very important if you have a very fast transformation from one side to another side. That's where I think you cannot, how to say, you might have that kind of like, how to say, you might forget much faster. But, like, if you had many more transformations like that, let's say you became vegetarian, then you became vegan, raw vegan, by the time you already like reaching breatharian, you develop that compassion towards others as well. I think, like, you know, we all need to go through these kind of like periods of where like low points, so to speak, and it's all part of the transition, I believe.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
So I was thinking that, I think you could answer this for me, which is that this basically you said you were opened up to this dimension, which was like really beautiful, and it is a lot about breaking all these energies that we kind of create in ourselves, and just like the practice of being in that pranic energy, right? That's that. Would you say that is the whole essence of being off the food? I don't know, this is just my thought process, you know, the way I see it. I don't know.
Right, you know, and that's unique to the individual. I would say that whatever that essence is, or whatever that energy is that is felt, everyone's going to feel it differently. You know, they say everybody is different and everybody is different. But the things that, I love this thing, and I've heard it said so many times, but it's so true. It says, whatever you do frequently becomes your frequency, you know? So whatever I was doing again and again and again, you know, frequently, that was my frequency. Whenever you're out there and you're dancing, you know, and you feel it, like you said, you know, the life force erupts and then only the dance remains, you know, it's so poetic, you know, it's like, wow, like she really is nourished by this movement, that's movement nourishment, you know? So you can feel that pranic energy whenever you're doing that, whenever you're doing yoga, whenever you're meditating. But some people don't like to sit down in meditation. Some people like more movement. And some people don't like so much movement. Some people like more stillness. And we can receive it, you know, the way that we perceive it in different ways. So I feel like when I allow people, or when I let people know, okay, do what you enjoy doing, you know, because that's going to be the thing, first of all, that you're going to like doing most often, that you're going to do more than once, that you're going to do for a long time. You're going to continue to do the things that you enjoy doing versus the things that you feel like you're struggling to do, or you're striving to do, or you're kind of, you know, being hard on yourself about. and you feel like you have to do it because somebody else did it. And so that was the wrong way, in my opinion. Not doing something just because somebody else did it, but doing something because it speaks to you, speaks to your spirit. That's going to be what elevates and what lifts you the most. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I see it. I feel it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, they also say in Hinduism, infinite paths to infinity. And I
Yes.
feel, yeah, I feel this is the true essence of it, which is like you're just becoming aware of yourself more and more and more. And that is what will give us energy as well. And the more further we get away from this, it's like maybe, some um, untruthful things. I mean, things that not truly belong to who we are in a way, to our true self is the kind of like, coming in that. So just like moving towards which is the frequency of joy, right? And love. And then just like moving on it, on it. Yeah, I think, yeah. And then there is this part where people say that, suffering is kind of required. A lot of people think like that. But for me, my essence, as you said, like, everyone's essence is going to be different. It kind of shows me like the whole path is about like that's not the path, the whole path is joy and love, and freedom. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes maybe like I also get this like, feedback from people. Oh, why being so optimistic, and why like being but I understand. I think we need to accept the shadow, and then that's the, as you were talking about, if you don't do it, then it kind of like takes you down. But if you
Right.
accept it, then you go up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's really, really, I think, powerful part of the journey.
Yeah.
I think love is the answer to everything, right?
And I love that you express that, in your videos, in your reels, and the ones that I've seen you do, you express this love that comes from this place. It's so genuine. It's so authentic. It doesn't seem forced at all. There was one that I saw that you were like, how am I living my amazing life? And you were like, I allow my mind to marry the divine mind. I allow myself to marry the divine self, and bringing those two together. So having all these affirmations, having these recitations, the things that we recite over and over again, we start to see what's on the inner reality and the outer reality, and you're showing people it's effortless. You're showing them it's like, it doesn't have to be a chore. It doesn't have to be so, such a struggle. It can actually be,
Oh, thank you so much. Actually, this affirmation is something that I received from Jasmu. My God, she's so freaking amazing. It's like I do listen to her meditations every day, and like stuff that she says is like it resonates so much with me. I think it's also we all have our own guides and gurus that are kind of that kind of help us see ourselves much more clearly.
Right.
So I kind of like feel that with her so much, and I think for Eustace it's Elitom that kind of rings more. I think it's also like the masculine and the feminine. So just being like a female empowered, something that really like helps me in a lot of ways. Yeah, but affirmations is also something that I used for healing myself when I went really down.
Right.
So yeah, I see how probably it's a big part of my purpose, as you were saying, that whatever we receive, we want to give out. And I always see that, it's like, okay, I need to like keep telling people that thoughts are so powerful and you don't even know. It's like you put a thought in yourself and suddenly you're like, boom, reality comes out. So that's quite beautiful. Yes.
Yes, yes. I wanted to ask you, Elitham is living like nomad lifestyle, right? What about you? Are you also living like a nomad lifestyle? And are you traveling a lot? Like, no, how is your geographical location look like?
Yeah. So Eustace, at the moment, I do enjoy traveling, and I'm enjoying it more and more. As time goes on, there's so much more to explore. Every place that I go, I just came from Rome. So I was in Rome, Italy with Rocky Chari. Do you know Rocky?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
Breatharian Yogini, yes.
right. So she's a mentor of mine as well. And so we had talks. We were visiting the Pantheon. We visited the Vatican museums, and we went to see different, arts, just works of architecture, and it was nice just to explore this, but to explore it in the consciousness, like neither of us had to consume anything while we were out there. We were consuming everything while we were out there. We were being nourished by just the visual spectacle of it all, just it was visually stimulating enough that by the end, oh my goodness, we felt dizzy. We were like high. We were like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? This is amazing. This is amazing what humans have done. It's amazing what humans can do, that we're just the tip of the iceberg. I was asking myself the whole time, like, how are we able to get all the way up there and do the Sistine Chapel and Michelangelo and all these different artists? Like, how did they get up there? How did they do this with the technology that we have today? So when we start asking ourselves these questions, we get different answers. And I think questions are the answer, So traveling gives me that. They say it's one of those things that, enriches you, when you travel. Yeah.
Amazing, yes. It's really nice. For me, like right now, also at the moment, I'm kind of like a tree. I'm more in one place, and I'm really enjoying just like the being in one place and having the ability to experiment with different practices as well. Because I was meditating for quite a long time, but I was never really into the practice so much. I was also like for now, like I've been doing like qigong daily, basically since like last October as well.
Nice.
And it's like just like having this kind of like I would say the space to do it, and also like for me, I'm still on my healing journey. So that being in the nature as well and having that fresh air for me at the moment is actually the most important part. What about you? How do you feel? Do you feel some difference when you are more in cities and more polluted environment, so to speak? The air is not so clean compared to, let's say, when you're more in nature.
It's interesting that you say that, Eustace. I do feel a significant difference when I'm in nature. I do enjoy being in nature, but that's not to say that when I'm in the city that I feel like I can't be in the city. It's interesting because like I breathe in the city. I can be barefoot in the city, which people think I'm crazy to walk barefoot in the city. For some reason, I don't know. I'm kind of the personality that I enjoy being alone. I love my alone time. I can be alone without being lonely, which I think was an early advantage, being an only child, coming up with no brothers, no sisters. But then also at the same time of taking solace in my silence, my own solitude, I can be around others. And I find that I feed, I'm fed by the energy of being around others without having to interact, so much. I can just be in others' energy fields without, but it's interesting when I'm in nature and I'm around trees, because I think, and one of my friends told me that I was a tree in the past life. So I love that you said that, I love climbing trees. I love being around trees. I love meditating with trees. And I also have a skin condition as well that I don't know what this is, but when my friend looked at it, they said that you're a tree. That's what they told me, because it's all over my body. Like I'm usually covered. You usually don't see my skin, but I have it everywhere. And that's what they said. And no one had ever said that to me before, Eustace. No one. She said, you were a tree in your past life. You're a tree. And I was like, what? So I feel very connected to nature. And when I'm in nature, hands down, is just, you can't compare it,
Yes.
Wow. So since you're talking about your body transformation as well, like you have the skin condition, what is it that you saw transformed? And could people like expect like full healing when they become breatharians?
That's a really great question, Kartika, because I don't consider myself a full breatharian. I know we all have the capacity to live on light, to live without anything, to be sustained by other forms of nourishment. I still feel like I'm a baby in this, I mean, I feel like I'm just getting started. So I can't accurately say what people should expect when they become something or when they reach a destination, because for me, it's a journey, and the journey is lifelong. So it's hard for me to answer that question because I still haven't arrived, at the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, everyone, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I just like, everyone is arriving and arrived at the same time,
Right,
Yeah.
right, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Amazing.
Because the infection, what was like the skin condition and what was the infection that you had that was so tremendous that you had to drop everything and completely change your lifestyle?
Okay. So basically, I was living in Hanoi, and I think it was a lot to do with the mind, but also it's a very polluted city. And I had this, I was going through a transition where I had to learn being just with myself. So it's like so opposite, that you were like the only child, but I was the youngest child.
Mm.
So I was always used to being with people, and just like being in a different country, there was this idea in my head, what if something happens to my health, and I'm by myself? And it kind of manifested like that. What I had was, I think, a lot of toxicity in my body with the pollution, as well as there was a change in food, and I was eating out all the time. So
Mm.
I had a abscess in my ass, and I did not even know at that time what is an apse. And it's basically when toxins are coming out of your skin, and then there's a pocket that has
Like
formed.
lots of pus basically, right?
Yeah, and it's very painful. It's very painful. And then I had it, and I was like, yeah, whatever. In India, they have these, they call it pora, and it must be something, it will pass away. I did not pay attention to it at all. And it kept coming, like one or two or three. Okay, it's like a spot on the skin. I was just like letting it go, it will heal itself. And then one day I woke up and I couldn't breathe properly. So my chest was hurting. I could not, I tried to like hold the glass, and it just like fell down. It broke down because
Wow.
I couldn't hold it. And then I called my manager. I'm like, I'm not able to move. Can you help me? So she came, and then she took me to the hospital. So, and I had fever as well. Then when I
Mhm.
went to the hospital, they just kept like, I had no idea what was happening. And I think this is one thing that kind of like empowered me to take my health in hand, because now you have to give your body to somebody else, and you have no idea, what will they do with it. So, and they're like, they're just like sending me from one hospital to another, saying that I could die, and I'm just by myself. And then they put me in the this place, one place. Finally, they decided to take me in, and all of this different information is coming in. There's someone who's coming and telling me that it's okay, there's nothing wrong. I still remember that girl, because if someone gives you light in that space, it's like the most powerful thing that you get. So she told me, and I'm like, okay, I'm calling my friend. I'm very calm. I'm like, dude, I don't know this is happening. And they have told me I might not, like, I might die. The infection can spread. And then I just like, I'm in the hospital, and I'm like, okay, what can I do now? And I'm just in my, I think, and this is the most powerful thing in the world. It has always helped me. It's like coming back to my center, just like doing breathing exercises, affirmation, giving myself love. And I was fine. They gave me antibiotics, and they wanted to keep me for a longer time. But then I told them, I'm feeling awesome. It's like I'm
Mhm.
creating this reality, just by saying it. And I was like, this is not what I want to experience. I'm sure of it. So I just kept doing that. And then after that, also, I think it was the fear of diseases that was causing like all of this in me. I'm very
Mhm.
certain of it. So like then I kept talking to my friend, and then Eustace was somebody who guided me into fasting and water fasting, dry fasting. And oh, like I knew this was the way. I knew it. So this,
Wow.
and then there were other skin conditions also that I had, just like these small spots, contagium molluscum, and it was not going away. And then when I did like 8 months, I was suffering from it. And I was like, in your head is the suffering. And when I did the juice fast, in 5 days, it was gone. So I was
Wow.
like, okay, yeah. Yeah, so I was like, dude, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do everything that, like, this is my calling, I want to live in a healthy body and everything, mentally, physically, love. It's like I do everything that I can just to, like, bring this to my reality day by day. And that is what, keeping me and it works, man. It's like this power, man. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's something that I would love to give to everybody, it's like great bodies, man. It's like, yeah, food gives you that energy, and I always say, I would love to know when you're not eating. What
Wow.
feed you? Yeah.
To get the inspiration, sometimes you need desperation, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
Jerome as well.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a really nice one as well. Like it's stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing. There is this lady called Louise Hay who also healed herself of cancer when she
Hmm.
was 40 by changing her, like releasing her traumas and thought patterns. And
Yeah.
she always says it was the most amazing blessing that happened to me, because she said after that I started living when I, kind of got into that thing. And then you're like, oh, life is there. So yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So, another thing that I wanted to ask you, you said like you really love being by yourself, uh, and and it's so interesting that you were with somebody for so long, almost feeling one with them,
Mhm.
and then you moved on your own journey of like this, breatharian journey after you kind of like, yeah, just like found a different path. We both found a different path. So, you think it really helps you that you were just by yourself to be on this journey?
In the beginning, when I started fasting and I started letting go and getting lighter and lighter, that first month, had I not been alone in my own energy, had I not been in that situation that the monks had me in their property on the mountain. So I didn't have a job, right? So you can X that. I didn't have a job, didn't have a family, didn't have a child, and didn't have anybody that I had to look after or be responsible for. It was just me and me, you know?
Yeah.
And that's actually the best environment for me to work on myself and to discover what was possible. Because had I had all these things, energies pulling at me this way and that way and this way and that way, I don't know that I would have gotten deep enough at that time to the level that I was able to discover, that there was more. Because for most of life, I had another person with me and didn't have enough time to really discover my own mind, become my own friend,
Yeah.
really have a deep relationship with myself again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same. Yeah, I think this is just being in my own energy. Something is like helps me get guided. You know,
Mhm.
it kind of is very very important for me to be able to just be happy and vibing and vibe out and create amazing life for my, just like
Mhm.
just give out goodness to whatever is coming out
Yeah.
as well. So
And when you say
yeah,
something helps, what do you feel that something is, Kartika? Because we've heard this, that some, profound creation can come from isolation. So what do you feel like is that source or that energy or whatever it is that ignites you or that, has that flame burning?
well, I see it as myself in a lot of ways. It's like the way I see it is what love is probably the answer to it, and I also feel it emanates out of me like this energetic, and
Mhm.
energetic self. And when I sit with myself, yeah, I can feel it, I can
Mhm.
hear it, I know it is me, I know it, so
Mhm.
I think, and I could identify it so much when I did plant medicine.
Mhm.
that that was the time when I could like I have been like playing around with it, like hide and seek, and I know who I am for sure. But
Yeah.
like that was something that really brought it to like my front. And my life completely changed after that. I actually met the spirit of Mother Earth, and she gave me everything. She gave me everything that I needed, and
Oh, wow.
it's been so life transforming for me just to be in her presence. It took away 99.99 of my fears. Like, I just learned how to be with myself in this space of, like, love. And just after that, I was never so comfortable sleeping with myself. I would say it would always be a little bit like, no, not so amazing, in some spaces. And then after that, everything is awesome, It's like that one experience, it showed me like myself, who I am. And yeah, it showed me like all these amazing beings who are there for us to help us, just like they just want to shower us. And
Yeah.
in that, like what I received, it kind of like puts me in this space where I want to shower, so much more. I was always there, but it's like so much more. And it's just like, yeah, and it's like everything's for us, uh, yeah. I mean, this is the best way I could put it. It's words cannot, do justice to anything. But yeah,
Oh, I know it. That's amazing. You met Mother Earth.
yeah,
You-
yeah.
Wow. And you said, what was the plant medicine that you were into at the time?
Come again.
What was the plant medicine that you were into at the time that took you on the journey?
Ayahuasca.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like Fabian. Okay.
Like
Fabi, because Fabi the
yeah,
other said as
yeah,
well that
yeah.
that's something that
Yes.
I've never, so that's an experience I've never had, but it's always transformational for everyone, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, he says that it's the same experience that you have on ayahuasca as well as on 3.5 days of dry fasting, and
Okay.
and you've gone like far ahead. So I think it's just this. I don't know. I'm just saying it from what I see, but probably it's just that vibration that you up leveling of. It's Mother Earth is like really thick energy of love. It's like. I've never I experienced so much love in my life, so much, but the level that I experienced with her, wow, it was phenomenal. I mean, I can start crying, it's like what I received, right? Truly. So yeah, I think you kind of like vibrating in that energy field anyway, when we have to be breatharians, and get that nourishment. It's all about like moving into that energy field, and then there are these beings who are already there. I don't know, it's just like I'm just like expressing out what I think, but it's I don't know. It's like, I let
No,
it go.
thank you for your expression, thank you for just communicating it the way that it's flowing through you,
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of things, they flow through you,
Yeah.
it's coming through the vessel. It's like you're a conduit and you're allowing yourself to be a channel for that energy, the more that you stay in alignment. So that's the assignment, figure out.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and thank you for just allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to express these emotions, because it is emotional. There were times where I got very emotional with myself and didn't know how to address those emotions, emotions that I had never had before for my own body, like here I am, like hugging myself, holding myself and tearing up, feeling like I betrayed myself, and having all these emotions towards my body as though my body was another person, was another being, So to hear you express it that way, and the way that you do, Kartika, you're like a cup that's runneth over. You're just so filled up. You filled up your cup with so much love. You have no
Oh.
choice to let it spill. Like we're receiving the overflow.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, you want to go ahead with? I'm speaking. I would love you to also.
Yes. So, amazing session so far. I'm feeling the high vibes. No, it's really amazing. I would like to know, Jerome, what about your possessions? Like, no, what you're traveling a lot as well, right? So you must be traveling quite light as well. Like, you have your flute and you like, what is how does it look like? What is the most important parts for you, material things, so to speak, in your life at the moment?
Let's see if I can flip this. Hold on. Yeah, so at the moment right now, I have my hat. This is what I carry my flute in. This is my Kindle. So all my books are in this device here.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
I condensed all my books in here. This is my pop-up tent. This is some apple and ginger right here. And so these are my sandals and like an umbrella, you know, and I have a little backpack in here. So I just carry this on my back. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So it's very light for you, huh?
Wherever I go. And at the moment, like that's all that's been needed, you know?
Amazing.
What happened with your old stuff? You said you were traveling by car and everything. Did you sell it? Did you donate it? What's the story?
My car is still back in Texas. So I was driving for Lyft for a while. I was doing a ride share. I think I did over 2,000 rides, I think, for Lyft. But I was just driving people everywhere. And that was kind of my form of breaking out of the 9-to-5 mentality that I had been under for so many years. So I was working for so many years at this job and that job and this job. And so Lyft was kind of me saying, I want to be on my own time, my own schedule, set my own hours, you know, just turn the app on and off. So the car is still back in Texas. It's still there, but I haven't used it in some time. Yeah.
Yes. Nice. Amazing.
Okay, so I think this is one question that comes to me is that, well, I actually have been very blessed with finances and being able to provide for myself from so many magical ways. But if someone has to like, for example, right now I'm also focusing on creating more and more abundance for myself, because I want to put this energy. It's also a desire. It's like a desire for sure, like that comes out of me to experience, and also like to put this energy out into permaculture farms and food forests, and like doing dancing meditation and subconscious mind reprogramming, like
Right.
just being able to flow through wherever I want to do and do these sessions. So how is it that and then there's of course this part of me which would I'm kind of doing both, like of course working through my spirit, but also thinking about being able to sustain myself for everything that I want to do with respect to like money, making sure that it always keeps on flowing. And one way to look at it is it will always come. We know it comes from the consciousness, and another thing is you're also doing things in the material life, creating foundations. So how is it that your journey has been with respect to, you said it was amazing, you had no job, and this is something that you said yesterday as well. You couldn't see yourself doing with a permanent job where you have to like perform in a certain way. It's like, of course, I understand the flow of energy is not there. So how is it that if someone was willing to do this in their life, would you guide them?
Okay, oh man, you both have such great questions. I love your questions. This is awesome. Thank you for asking. Yeah, for me, it's been a journey of entrepreneurship. I had to discover what that means for me, to be an entrepreneur, to kind of pave my own way, to be a trailblazer per se, And for me, that's been with blogging, YouTubing, making things on Instagram, creating books. So I'm an author of about 5 books on Amazon. So I have 5 books there for people. And creating abundance, creating avenues of abundance, streams, multiple streams of income, and allowing the universe to, wherever it wants to flow to you. They say that the sea is the king of streams because it lies below them. That was something that I learned in the Tao Te Ching, that this book that talks about being humble, it lies below them, and all waters flow to it because it lies below. So it's really interesting to see that dynamic in my life and to discover for myself what it means to be in service.
Yeah.
So finding a way that you can be in service. This was the reel I put up the other day. Whatever it is that is your greatest gladness, discovering how it meets one of the world's greatest needs, and then just going into that and growing that.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, like it's like whatever purpose you think is to, you have to serve at that point. You just like give your energy into that, and then it will kind of come back. Yeah, definitely makes sense. And it's so much about like, I was also listening to Abraham Hicks, and she's saying you are a vibration, just like freaking vibration, if you know how to vibrate high and just do that, and the universe has like, a plan for you, and then you will just like flow into it. I don't know. This is how I see it, because. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I see it the same way.
Yeah.
There's so many ways, like you said, infinite paths to infinity, right?
Yeah.
There's more than there's more. Yeah.
Yeah. Possibilities, just being open to this possibilities. And I think the path that you are on and we are on as well is also so much about just like mind pattern shifting, just like, okay, I break it. Let's just like opening the mind to like these possibilities that are there. Agreed. And then as soon as we become open to it, it exists. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And love,
Amazing. Yeah,
expand.
amazing. Ah. Yes, yes. So, what were the other body transformations that you saw in yourself?
Yeah. So at first, I definitely did drop some weight. I dropped some kilos, and my weight didn't stabilize until later on in the journey. But at first, my body went through, I guess, what you could call a healing crisis. It was like a detox. That's what I was asking you the other day, what was the most significant detox that you went through? Because, I mean, I started to notice things that I'd never noticed before. For instance, bowel movements, dropping off so much matter that was inside my body that I didn't know was there. Even after weeks of nothing solid, still having solid matter coming, out the vessel, that does something, asking, huh? So those were some of the transformations that I started to feel. Wow, okay. So we really have the capacity for storage. We can hold on to a lot.
Yeah.
We don't realize how much we can hold on to and for how long we can hold on to it. The body's very good at storage, So I think Elitam will always say this as well. We're designed for energy conservation. The best way to conserve that energy. And being bipedal creatures, understanding that when you exercise, it could be like an exorcism, like you're exorcising a demon. There were so many things within me that started to come out or flow out and go out the routes as I was walking about, breaking up that energy, doing Qigong, staying in the posture, staying in the pose. He said, standing like a tree, right? You're standing like a tree. You're standing there. The tree doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it's doing everything, So that was kind of part of my journey to say like, okay, what do I really know? And to humble myself to say, do I really know anything? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's wonderful. Yes, I agree with you. It's a big journey, and you have to really have the conviction in yourself, to really to do it as well, because it's not the most comfortable way. It's sometimes for people it will be more comfortable to really to stick with their old habits rather than to really look for try to break out of that the things that we kind of like locked ourselves in. So it's for me it's been like also a massive physical transformation, of course, but then when you do even the physical things, your mental starts changing, your spiritual and emotional also starts changing. So it's
Yeah.
like very, very deep. So what about emotional part? Like, no, because like, no, we don't know you from before, right? Like, no, before your journey started, did you see some transformation of your emotional body, so to speak?
Yeah, great question. Because even when you were talking about how it's all connected, what you change on the physical, you change on the mental, you change on the emotional, you change on the spiritual, like everything goes hand in hand. And that's what we talk about holistic, because I remember listening to you, Kartika, when you're talking about how you were very inflamed, that was me too. You can see it in my face. If you look back on videos way back, you'll look at the difference in my face from then to today. It's dramatic, it's crazy, but that was my normal, that was my normal. I never knew that anything was wrong with it, or that anything, because I was living in that, that was my form of existence. So when it came to the emotions, oh man, like I said before, when it got very emotional to think that I had been living the way that I was living for all those years, never knowing that my body always had my back. My body was always doing its best to keep me in homeostasis, to keep me balanced against all odds, against everything that I was consuming, everything that I was continuously putting in, wondering and always asking myself, why do I feel this way? Why does life have to be like this? Why do things have to go this way? Asking myself, where is this coming from? But I'm still putting things in my body, never making the connection. It took me 28 years.
Oh my God, yes. I had the same experience.
It took me over 28 years to see the connection,
Yeah.
between my emotions, between my mental states, between everything and what I was putting in my body, multiple therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, the pharmaceuticals that they prescribe, the labels that they told me, you have trouble focusing, you're this type of kid, you're that type of kid, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to be over here, you have to study over there, never knowing that, where was that energy going, So thank goodness for new learnings, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually want to ask you another thing, which is, do you think that the same state of consciousness can also be achieved without working on the body? Because like how we're working is like transforming the body and like allowing it to support us through our spiritual, evolution and coming back to our true self. But there are a lot of people who are also on the journey and who are doing amazing. And as we said, infinite paths to infinity, and they're not working so much on the body. They're so lit up like in their mental and the spiritual space, and they don't also like to work on their body. So just curious about what is your perception and point of view. Yeah.
Right. Great question, Kartika. I love these. These are so expansive. Like you're expanding me right now just by
Oh,
asking.
you're expanding us for sure. Like I already feel it. Yeah.
They say that a mind that is stretched by a new idea can never return to its original dimensions, So I feel like I'm coming away already from this conversation, as this is, evolved thus far, like I feel expanded. So thank you for that. And what we were talking about earlier, when it talks about all waters flow to the ocean. Rocky Chari at the recent Pranic World Festival, she described her experience with telekinesis, and having telekinetic powers. But she said she got there through her fast, through her pranic living, through her pranic nourishment, through her being in this new energy. She awakened different abilities, seeing auras, being able to see energy of people, energy of trees, energy in the sky, the prana everywhere. And now she can move objects just by thinking about it. And so for her path was pranic living. For somebody else, where I know that there are people in the past that have showed me that they're able to do the same thing, powerful things, you know, turn off lights, you know, move objects, do everything just with their mind, but they're not living like Rocky's living, you know, they're living very differently. They're still consuming all sorts of things. So it's like, how is that person able to do the same thing that this person's able to do, but they didn't do the same work that that person did? So I feel like there's definitely a body-mind connection. You know, what you do for one, you do for the other. But it doesn't mean that you have to do it the exact same way. It kind of comes back full circle. There's infinite paths to infinity, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing because I have like known, I've seen people who have attained, like when they speak, you can feel their energy, you know,
Mhm.
really like amazing, beautiful. You just like embrace it. But their body is not like there, you know. It's some people also have like sicknesses, and then they
Mhm.
will die of those sicknesses. Probably they realize that that's just the skin, you know, it's just a vessel. And then they do their spiritual evolution. And then, as you said, like it's infinite paths to infinity. So what is it that resonates with you, you know? For example, for me, it really deeply resonates. Like body integrity is something that's like so special for me, because when I don't have it, it just doesn't feel right. And when I have it, it's like empowers me. So
Right.
it's just different experiences that consciousness is, I think, having through different people. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah, amazing. Yes. Awesome. You had more
Yes.
questions.
I think it's already been like I think 1.5 hours or
Yeah.
so. So I'm really grateful for your time and amazing answers. You know, it's really been an amazing experience. I would like just maybe to wrap it up. Like, you know, I really like reading books like yourself, probably as well. So I would really love to ask, what kind of book would you recommend? Like, you know, for us, for like, you know, anyone else who's listening as well.
Yeah. So when it pertains to pranic living,
Anything.
Yeah, anything that you think. Yeah, pranic living. I think that would be a great topic to how say to read about as well. Yes, more.
okay. So pertaining to pranic living, books, 3 books that helped me in the beginning were Hilton Hotema's Man's
Uh,
Higher.
Amazing. He's reading that right now.
yeah, I'm 10 page, last 10 pages left. You know, the last 10 pages also the the heaviest.
So you know,
So
brother.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yes, it's a really a great book. It really like gave me a different perspective, especially on breath and importance of fresh air. Like, no, the number one food for us. Like, no, like because I was always concentrating a lot on the food part. But of course, me and Kartik were living here in nature. You know, we're living here because also we know the importance of fresh air as well.
Mm.
But like now, I have much deeper also how to say, knowledge about it and much deeper perspective of how important that is. Like, you know, so even keeping the windows open and like, you know, and doing all different things, going for walks in nature and spending time under the trees, all of
Right.
these parts, like, you know, are so important. So it's like a amazing book. So you had 2 more books, right?
I agree. Yeah, it's an amazing read. You know, that one alone will already take you somewhere else, you know, just
Yeah.
reading alone. Another one was Ray Mayor's A Year Without Food. Yeah.
I read that one also. Yes.
There you go. See, you got the list. You got
Two out of 3, man. Like, come on, let's see the third one. Is like are they gonna fall?
and the third one was Jasmine, Food of the Gods. Yeah.
That's the first Jasmine's book I read. Amazing.
Okay, there you go. You go. And I have 2 as well that have just come out. So I've written 2 this year that pertain to chronic living. And so I'm glad, you know, that people have been picking it up and, you know, feeling the changes. So yeah, I'm just pleased to be able to take part in this. You know, you are pioneers as well, you know. Both of you, Kartika, Eustace, you're both pioneers. And anybody who's watching this, you know, consider yourself a pioneer because the knowledge is here, you know. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Wow. Wow.
This is yeah.
So where can people find your books and your content? Would you like to share that as well so that everyone can like expand themselves more and more through your energy and light?
So yeah, the ones that I've written, they're both on Amazon. You can find them through the link on my bio on Instagram at Jeromes. There's a link that goes straight there to both of them. Or you can just go on Amazon.com and find them. One is titled A Hunger for Freedom. The other one is The Pranic Path and How to Grow It from the Mind of a Poet. So that one's more of a poetry book, really just detail the lifestyle and what got me started, but also what kept me going. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
I had really, I didn't know that you're a poet. I knew a little bit like you're a poet, but I kind of forgot about that you're a poet. But then like when we are talking, I could feel that energy of your
And
being a
it's so
poet.
beautiful.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
So beautiful, yes.
Yeah.
The way you speak, it's very poetic and inspiring. Like so I keep on spreading the good word, brother. It's really amazing. Really amazing.
Thank you so much for your energy and for the expansion that you give. It's like when you said that you've already expanded, like I feel the expansion in myself. And thank you so much for this conversation. It's like so nourishing is the right word. Thank you so much for nourishing me, for Eustace and everyone who's watching as well, and for yourself, nourishing yourself as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Jerome. One thing, maybe you could give us a few notes on your flute.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for
That would be
asking.
awesome. I would love to see even how it works and all as well.
Okay. Yeah, this is called a shakuhachi. It's a Japanese bamboo flute. And yeah, let me just take a deep breath.
Thank you so much, Jerome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Lots of love. Yeah. Thank you.
Lots of love. I have a good feeling our roads will cross somewhere on the physical plane, not only in the virtual plane.
he said our oaths will pass.
Roads will cross.
Roads are oaths and paths and roads, everything. Yeah. I would love to see you in person and feel your presence.
It's gonna happen. It's
Yes.
gonna happen.
Yes. Lots of love, Jerome. Lots of love.
You're always welcome here to,
Yes.
to visit us in the mountains of South India as
Yeah.
well. And
Our home is your home.
yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Love you, and lots of beautiful energy
Yes,
from our side.
blessings. Yes.
Thank you.
Take care.